Hello my friends, welcome to the video. Today we're going to be speaking about the history of VR. This video will be part of a 3-part series, with the first part being here about history, the second part being about gaming, and the third part being about the hardware. I also have a second channel which will be in the description below. There will be weekly gaming videos every Friday, so you can go check that out if you want. Go subscribe if you enjoy this video, and if you enjoy this video, subscribe to this channel too. And why not give the video a like, ladies and gentlemen. But without further ado, enjoy the video. So, our story all begins in 1838 with Sir Charles Wheatstone, a very renowned scientist at the time, being the first ever person to describe stereopsis. Very, very clever man, might I add. He created something known as a stereoscope. The way it would work would be that the user would look into the different mirrors in different eyes, and there would be a 3D image that you would be able to see. Now, here's where it gets exciting, ladies and gentlemen, as only 21 years later, the first form of VR is born. In 1956, cinematographer Morton Heilig created the Sensorama. I mean, what he created here was more of a 4D cinema than anything, but I mean, it's still great. It was a large booth that looked like this. The reason I say that it was more of a 4D cinema is that what you were seeing was essentially a 3D image that stimulated all your senses, pumping out smells, as well as doing things like blowing wind in your face. It was all made possible with stereos, smell stimulants, a vibrating chair, and a stereoscopic 3D screen. So, as we venture more into the future, nothing major happened. Until 1968, that is, when Ian Sutherland and his student Bob Sproul created the first head-mounted display virtual reality headset. And what did they call it? The Sword of Damocles. It was very primitive, however, and only really showed simple wireframe shapes that would change due to your perspective and where you were standing in the room. This never made it out of the lab stage, however, because it was too heavy and the user had to be strapped to it because of the fact that it came from the ceiling. But then, in 1985, something insane happened. Something incredible. Virtual reality had finally become reality. This year, Jaron Lanier and Thomas Zimmerman founded VPL Research Inc. They were the first company to create VR goggles and VR gloves. They created a range of things like the Data Glove, iPhone, HMD, and the Audiosphere. Now, not much really happened with VR until 1991, where Sega announced that they were working on a new add-on for the Sega Genesis, known as the Sega VR 1. It sounded extraordinary, and, well, it would have been, if it actually came out. It was in production until around 1994, when it was quietly cancelled by Sega because of technical challenges as well as safety concerns. But then, 1 year later, in 1995, the Nintendo Virtual Boy is released. Everyone was hyped. It would be incredible. It would bring a new kind of immersion to gaming, allowing you to be in the game. It failed. It was a failure due to 3 reasons. 1, it was all monochrome with no colour. 2, it had little software support with only 22 games releasing for it. And 3, it was very uncomfortable to use. It was discontinued a year later. Finally, we get to the year 2012, where the Kickstarter campaign for the Oculus Rift is launched by Palmer Luckey. Its goal was 250 grand. That's a lot of money. It was easily beaten, however, in 24 hours and reached a whopping $2.4 million in funding by the end of the Kickstarter campaign. They called it a wonderful advance in VR kit. VR was finally taken off. Now, my dear viewer, I'm afraid in 2014, disaster struck. Oculus was gained by Facebook for $2 billion. Now, although it was Facebook that gained Oculus, this was the moment where VR began to gain a lot of momentum. This year, Sony also announced that they were working on their own VR headset named Project Morpheus, as well as Google announcing they were working on their own headset named Google Cardboard VR, as well as Samsung announcing their own VR headset which would use your smartphone to play games, which was very odd. By 2016, everyone was making VR products, from AAA companies like Valve to lesser known companies like Alchemy Labs. This year, the first proper headsets with tracking were also released, with the HTC Vive releasing in April 2016 and the Oculus Rift releasing later that year too. The tracking allowed you to pretty much free roam around your environment, which was amazing at the time because there'd been nothing like it before that. It was also the first commercial release of VR, and put a lot of competition between the two headsets of HTC Vive and Oculus Rift, which would carry out for years to come. They were both pretty much the same in power, however, apart from their controllers, which we'll get onto later. 3 years later, it's 2019. The year virtual reality got real. It was the year that the Oculus Quest was released, Facebook's first standalone headset. It became sold out in most locations around the world and generated $5 million in sales. That's a lot of money. The shift between wired and standalone was also incredible, because as somebody who can hardly run PC VR, and when I try it sounds like this, it was big. Everyone could use it, and you didn't need a PC. Oh, and Nintendo also released their Nintendo Labo VR kit this year, which completely fucking flopped again. Anyway, 2020 rolls around and the Quest 2 is revealed, and it's just pretty much what the Quest 1 should have been. As of March 2023, there have been 20 million units sold, which is a great success for Facebook. Speaking of Facebook, in 2021, they chose to change their name to Meta as a parent company. To this day, nobody knows why they did this, and nobody knows what was going through Mark's head, but, I mean, sure. They also announced that they would be spending $10 billion on the metaverse, as well as creating VR and AR hardware and software for those headsets. And now, we reach 2023, present day. We have seen Apple announce their new VR headset, named the Apple Vision Pro. It costs 3.5 grand. From what has been shown, however, we can kind of deduct that it's mainly going to be used for work purposes, and that's where the heavy price tag comes from. Meta has also announced the Quest 3, which will be released in fall 2023, which had everyone, including me, like this. I want it, give me all of it, give me all of it. Oh. But yeah, that's pretty much the history of VR. I just wanted to say, if you made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it. It's the first piece of long form content that I've done like this, so for you to stick around me really means a lot to me. Anyway, if you haven't checked out the second channel already, go check that out. You can expect the next part in this video to also come out in around a month. That'll be the gaming side of things. But yeah, apart from that, remember to subscribe if you enjoyed and like the video, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one.